Well, good evening, everyone. Are you ready for another fun, informative, exciting, interesting show? We are. We have something first for you that we're we don't know whether to laugh or shake our heads or do a little bit of both. But here's kind of like a little sneak peek at what we're going to be talking about first.
Okay, let's take roll here. Jay Quellen. Where's Jay Quellen at? No Jay Quellen here? Yeah.
Do you mean Jacqueline?
Okay, so that's how it's gonna be.
All right. No, we're not having a stroke. We know exactly what we're going to be talking about, right, Clay? We have a plan here.
Oh yeah, and it's local to me. There's another hint for you. It's local to me here outside of Philadelphia, and it's painful. Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome back, and happy to be back for another week. How you doing?
Woohoo! We are ready for it right after this. All right, guys. So, your poor Philadelphia. Why is Philadelphia always doing crazy stuff? Oh man. All right, guys. If you didn't get an opportunity to to see what happened, the Thomas Jefferson Commencement ceremony happened over again. Just a reminder, we record on Tuesday. You see this on Thursday, so this was just recently. It'll be a little further back in your news feed if you haven't seen it yet. But this was the commencement ceremony for nursing students in Philadelphia. This happened on Thursday. So it'll be last Thursday for us. And we
Sire Uvun Jinju Brinon. Victoria Lee Zubathros. Marlena Zobath Camp. Tamume Thomas.
Tamume. Yes. Yeah. So this woman ended up being like removed from handing these out within 10 minutes, I think they said. The university apologized for the massacre of the names, and their explanation was that she was given, maybe they do this all the time, I don't really know for these things, but she was given a list with the phonetic spellings of each of the names along with the regular spelling, which normally someone would probably they would look at the regular list and say, oh, I don't know how to pronounce that name, and look over at the other one, get the phonetic. This woman just decided to go by the phonetic. and that's what happened. It was pretty bad.
My understanding, this is the Thomas Jefferson University is here in Philadelphia, as we mentioned before. It is a university and hospital. In fact, it's the only major hospital left in the city. It is the big one, right? And the university is part of it. It's historic. It's been here forever. Remember the name, Thomas Jefferson University, especially since that last young man announced their first name was Thomas.
Yes.
But this is the provost. My understanding is that it was the provost of the university announcing exactly like you said, Elisak Urk-Ate, or however she would pronounce your name.
Yes.
She was given their written name, like the
right.
proper, accurate spelling, and then a phonetic list to go with that. Mm-hmm. And she chose to completely ignore things like Elizabeth and just go with the phonetic. And that's what you get. This is university leadership. Every one of those kids should get their entire tuition refunded. 4 years of nursing school, however long it took them, however many tens of thousands of dollars they paid, they should get all of that money back. All of it.
Yep. I say absolutely. And, there was a lot of laughter, it was very funny, but it's also a little bit not funny because you worked your butt off to have this moment, this great moment of pride to hear your name called, and nursing school, that's hard. I have friends who I watch go through nursing school and it hurts my brain to think about all of the things that they have to learn and the commitment and all of the things that they go through to do this. And oh my goodness, to have their name just massacred like that it's a little upsetting, I'm sure.
Well, and we mentioned this last week when we were talking about all the commencement ceremonies that got canceled or disrupted due to the Palestine-Israel, Hamas issue. These kids, and if they're true, 4 years of high school, 4 years of college, these are the same kids that lost their graduation due to COVID.
Right.
So, they might have got a Zoom graduation 4 years ago, maybe not even that. Maybe they graduated to an empty stadium. Whatever it was not a normal graduation. And now, like you said, they bust their behind. They get through nursing school, of all things, and this is the reward. Now, you're right. There was some laughter. I think there was some confusion. Some people probably thought it was a prank, at least to begin with.
Right.
And then it kept going.
Yes.
And then it kept going. And I think there was a lot of confusion, but I think the young man named Thomas, I think was
Thomas.
That was the straw that broke the camel's back. When she screwed
Thomas
that
was
up,
a little displeased. Thomas was annoyed.
That was the one where everybody was like, this is not just a joke. This is an embarrassment.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I felt really bad for them as I'm still laughing, but and of course, as you've already figured out, already tied in. That's why we showed that video in the beginning, because that is a classic real life. It really happened in real life. And yes, I definitely would have thought if I was sitting there, I would have definitely thought it was a joke. I would have thought it was a play on that.
Sure.
And, and like you said, everybody probably had that nervous laughter at first, like, that was funny. Okay, now correct it. Okay, now correct it. And it never got corrected. So, and I do, because I'm such a sap. I'm such a sucker. I should not, but I actually feel bad for that woman, because how mortifying that must be to be that woman that, forever. So I do have a little sympathy for, probably not deserved. And for the reasons that you said too, like just these universities are just, it's all out of control. It's all absurdity and nonsense. It's just another comeuppance for them, I think, in some ways.
There's a high probability that woman has a doctorate.
Scary, right?
Yeah. Right. And I'll be honest, I've done this. I've been the narrator for a couple of graduations at military schools while I was still in uniform, with international students as, graduates. And listen, you get Tommy Smythe from England, right? That's fairly easy, but you start getting into French, German, Swedish, African nations, you got to make sure you get this right. And they do exactly like you said. It's written, and then it's written phonetically if you need it. And she clearly, I think she pulled a Kamala. I think she didn't do her due diligence. Yeah. I don't think she read through it before she stood at the podium and just figured, oh, I'm fine. And blew it in a colossal fashion. Right.
Yeah. I feel like minutes before she said, maybe somebody said, okay, did you take a glance through the names? You got it. Okay. And she was like, this is easy. This is nothing. I've got this. Yeah. No big deal. Yeah. Well, that's what happened with that. You mentioned Israel, and that is once again, still in the news. Not once again, still in the news. Of course it is. There's no surprise there, as it should be. But and I'm really, really, so in a minute, once I shut up, I'm going to let you take over the floor on this because I really, really want to hear your thoughts on this and how you see this. So the Biden administration, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken on Sunday delivered some of the Biden administration's strongest public criticism. And I noted the word public of Israel's conduct on the war in Gaza, saying that Israeli tactics have meant quote, a horrible loss of life of innocent civilians, end quote, but failed to neutralize Hamas leaders and fighters and could drive a lasting insurgency. So now he's said as much twice now. So obviously sending a very public message to Israel.
Number one, and I've said this before, these are the discussions that are supposed to be had in private. This is right. This is how diplomacy works. This is International Relations 101, right? You don't embarrass an ally in public like this, especially one of our greatest allies. Although I think the current administration is making it pretty clear they don't care if Israel is an ally of ours or not.
Yes.
They're obviously not on Israel's side in all of this. And everybody can, anybody who wants to can play the humanity card if they want. Oh, well, they're on the side of humanity. No, they're not, because they just dumped a whole bunch more money into Ukraine. So if they were on the side of humanity, then we wouldn't be supporting anybody. But the reality is you don't say this stuff in public. And then a couple of things happened in the immediacy afterwards. One, Hamas turned around, because the message was not only we don't approve of tactics, we don't approve of things that are goings on and how Israel's conducting themselves. There was also by the way, we're not providing any more weapons. Like, if they're going to be used in Gaza and Rafah, we're not, the United States president said that. We're not providing any more weapons for this. Wow. Okay. Truthfully, I think Israel just said, all right, fine, we'll get them from somewhere else. And they will.
Right.
But Hamas launched a counteroffensive. Like in the hours afterwards, like within 24 hours.
And no response from the Biden administration regarding that.
No,
zero.
Nothing,
okay.
Nothing.
Okay. That's also a clear message. Sure.
Yeah. Huge. And then there was also a bit of a backlash in the UN because there was some UN at the assembly, some international support for Hamas, for Palestine as it, attempts to exist, where the Israeli ambassador got up and absolutely let the entire assembly have it. Went off on him. He had this, like, it was a lot of showmanship. He had this mini shredder in his hand, and he's like, this is what you're doing to the UN Charter by supporting Hamas and Palestine. And he was putting these little pieces of paper into this shredder. And it was very theatrical, but his point was well made.
Right.
So that was part of it. And then the last thing was they have just redone the casualty numbers, the claimed casualty numbers by Hamas that they've been purporting and reporting for the last since October, and that have been echoed by the current administration up to and including the president. Numbers of not just killed by Israel, but numbers of women and children killed by Israel, innocents that have been lost in this whole thing, are 50% or less than what has been reported.
Wow.
So they're 100% over on their casualty reporting. They're elevating the numbers to make things seem. And listen, by no means am I downplaying the loss of life, especially when it comes to innocents, women, or children. But
of course,
it tells you exactly what you're getting out of this organization, right? There's no fair reporting. There's no, clear representation. They're not trying to paint an accurate picture of what is happening there. They're changing the numbers. They're upping things to make it look worse than it is. And everybody's buying it because why?
Right.
Because nobody's checking. Nobody's checking. Nobody's validating or verifying what's coming out of there. They're taking it 100% at face value because it supports the narrative.
Right.
And it's not accurate. So as bad as things are, they're not as bad as what's being reported. Which, go backwards a week. Go backwards a week and look at what's happening in this country in support of Hamas and Palestine based on false representation of what's going on in that region. So this is what you get out of terrorists, because that's what they are. And I'm tired of people sugarcoating it. I really am. I don't want to hear anything more about the innocent people of Palestine. They're caught, they elected these people to run their government. They continue to support them. They continue to allow this to happen. And I don't want to hear any more free Palestine. I don't, I'm tired of it. It's complete BS. And if you're anti-Israel and pro-Hamas, you're on the side of terrorism globally. That's what you're supporting. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But and that's what our administration is supporting. That's the whole, this entire, you see right at the bottom, the banner at the bottom. That's their message to Israel is we are supporting terrorists.
Right.
We, United States, are supporting terrorists. That's what we're doing. It's
how
shameful.
Absolutely horrendous. And I should say, Israel throughout has announced loud and clear, we are going to do this. Get out, get to safety. Do not be there, because we're telling you, we're giving you an opportunity to get out and be safe. What you decide to do is now going to be on you. Whereas pretty sure Hamas did not offer that same grace.
No.
We know that they didn't. We know that they didn't. So, so the whole thing is, it's just shocking to me. And, and I feel like I should just hit a replay button on that statement, because I feel like I say this so often, and I know that I do, because every time I think I can't be shocked, I'm shocked that this is the reality, and that there are so many people that turn a blind eye and refuse to see what's really happening. And this is again, another example is the airdrop of food and supplies right into the heart of Gaza, and of course the soldiers and the the terrorists grabbed everything and took it for themselves and left the innocent people to starve. They've used them as human shields. They've used the hospital. Didn't they have a headquarters underneath a hospital? So that, these are truly evil, sadistic, horrible people. And this is what our government is turning a blind eye to, and low key, not so low key supporting.
And at the same time, we have turned around and added, even more money to go to Ukraine.
Right.
And really it's not necessarily, it's not apples to apples. It's not an apples to apples comparison, but we're supporting one ally against a known foe. Which is Russia, right? I mean, it's Cold War, it's post-Cold War, they've been, but at the same time, now we're supporting an enemy against what has been one of our greatest allies, and I don't get it. It makes absolutely no sense.
No,
because if you're on the side of the innocents, right, then you don't supply Ukraine with more weapons. You step in and you end the conflict yourself, right? And you look at Putin and you look at, Zelensky, and you or whatever his name is, the stand-up comedian guy. You tell them to knock it off, or you're going to step in the middle and you're going to end it, right? If you're on the side of innocence, that's how you stop the death of innocence.
Yes.
It's not by choosing one side or the other in this case. We're the United States of America. If we want to end that, we can end that. We have that capability. We've had it for a long time. We're choosing not to. And a lot of people will say it's based on the, propping up of the defense industry. And, since we stopped shooting at Afghans and Iraqis, then they've lost a lot of money and they need some more, future income. So we're supporting two new wars. But regardless of all that, I digress. This is not, this position that the administration is taking makes absolutely no sense. It's not it's not in line with anything else they're doing, and I don't buy it. I think it's all garbage.
Oh yeah, there has to be, based on everything else this administration has done, it has to be some type of self-serving maneuvering that they're
For sure.
doing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost the given, right? It's just a question of what is it? What are you getting out of this? Because
Who's paying who?
who's paying who? Because you're, like you said, this is a longtime ally that you are publicly chastising, essentially, and saying, we're not helping you. We're mad at you. We don't like what you're doing. So now we're going to shame you. And these are the wrong people to try and shame. Give me a break, idiots. And also,
by the way, today is
Yeah.
Israeli Independence Day.
Wow.
In case you didn't know,
I did not know that.
That's today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. They picked the wrong time, wrong people, wrong time,
Yeah.
wrong everything, wrong side, wrong everything. And yeah, it's embarrassing and awful. And damn well who would have put an end to it, who would have stepped in the middle of these two, fighting factions and saying,
It was
all
in the
done.
works.
Yep.
It was in the works when he left office.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
we have never been closer to peace in the Middle East than we were 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's all gone.
All gone. Almost instantly, it seemed like. I mean, pretty damn quick, really,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, all right. We're getting fired up. We're getting angry. Let's switch it over to something that makes us angry as well.
It's a
But we
different
can-
kind, though.
Different kind.
This is a shake your head. This is very much in the same vein, right? Same idea of Portland, right? And Seattle and all these places that have tried to, offer free drugs to addicts to give them a safe place to shoot up so they don't overdose on the street.
I think New York is in that mix too. I think they tried that too. I think they had like little care packages.
Yeah,
By care packages, I
that's
mean a crack pipe and
Yeah.
And I actually mean that. I'm pretty sure that was part of their
think it
care
did.
package.
Yeah, there's a little fake credit card in there to dice up your Coke or whatever. Anyway, I think they were double use the gift cards. That's what it was for.
Right.
Yeah. Get a cell phone. Get it anyway. San Francisco has found out that for, I think it's 3 years now, they have been doling out alcohol to the tune of millions of dollars to homeless alcoholics. This is their solution to alcoholism, is to continue to give them alcohol to keep them. The intent is to keep them from committing crimes to get alcohol.
Right.
Is to just give it to them.
Yep.
Right? So
and to keep them out of the emergency rooms. Like that was like
for detox
to lessen. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So lessen medical emergencies and lower crime. You're right. Those are the two like big facets to the program. Not get them help.
Nope.
Not spend those millions of dollars to, provide some education and some hospitalization and some treatment, some psychological help, some physical help. Not do that. Just cheaper to keep them on the bottle.
Right. Yeah, they're basically putting like the dollar store version of Band-Aids, like the really cheap brand of Band-Aids over a waterfall, essentially. You can't this is not a fix. This is just something to hush it up for a few minutes here and there so they don't have to deal with it, essentially. And by the way, the number on that, it says over the last 4 years, San Francisco spent $20 million to basically service a total of a couple hundred people by giving them free vodka and beer. And there's I'm trying to see where the guy's name is. I've lost his name, but whoever this is who was quoted here, he said that for that amount of money, they could have funded 60 drug treatment beds instead. Oh, Tom Wolfe. Tom Wolfe, he's the founder of the Pacific Alliance for Prevention and Recovery. So yeah, for what they spent just to, put that Band-Aid over a massive problem, they could have actually solved the problem for some people, at least.
But I have to assume 60 beds operational for 4 years.
Right. Yes.
So think about how many people you can treat over 4 years if you've got 60 beds available.
Right.
I mean, hundreds.
Yeah, because they're saying, I mean, the math on that, according to this guy, and it's probably a give or take. He says it's a $5 million pilot program bringing free beer, wine, and vodka shots to San Francisco's homeless alcoholics, aimed to relieve the city's emergency services. So like the total was over 4 years, $20 million spent. And, the key thing there is he's saying for a couple hundred people. So, so while they are taxing the emergency services and all that stuff, the number is relatively low. So it's enough people that they really could use that funding for actual treatment rather than free vodka shots and beer and wine. I think wine was on there. They get wine. I mean, come on.
Who thought that this was a good solution? I mean, really, how dumb do you have to be and listen, you may think conceptually, that weaning people off, okay, in a controlled environment, I think that's probably a way. Maybe cold turkey physiologically doesn't work for people. Mentally, it doesn't work for people. That's probably not the best, 100% solution. So some people got to wean themselves off in a controlled environment. Okay, fine.
Sure.
I get that. That's not what this is, though. This is
not
like
even close.
Hey, I'm back again. It's been 24 hours.
Somebody open up their coat and go, what do you want? What do you want?
Yeah. It's the guy, they're wandering around looking for this stuff. I don't get this. I really, really don't. I don't understand how anybody believes that this is a good idea, especially not to a $5 million a year price tag.
Right.
Like who?
But these people had to sit down in a committee room. And they've got their long table and they're seriously talking about, well, how should we tackle this problem? Oh, I have an idea.
Elsa, what's your idea?
Right.
Let's hear this one.
Okay. I think we should bring them free booze and we can have a booze ferry and they can just ride their bike past them and like a paper boy and just throw out the nips to them. Does that sound like a good idea, guys? And they all said,
the whole committee said that. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. How much is that going to cost? How much is that going to cost? $5 million? Oh,
just sure. $5 million.
No problem. Yeah, up the price on the bridge. Yeah,
that's all.
Increase the tolls. We'll be fine. It's crazy. Like, and again, success rate, I'm sure very much like, and we've seen this, we talked about this, whatever it was a month ago, that up there in the Pacific Northwest, they looked at the free drug programs. They went, or actually it was the legalization part that they flipped over. They're like, yeah, this backfired. This is, this is a horrible idea. This is the same thing. This is not working. I guarantee you this is not working.
No, there's no possible way. And, and you always, when, we're, it's not that we're cynical, it's that we're realists. And we look at this, most people, I think, most thinking people look at this and go, well, what's in it for them? Like, what's in it for them to do this? Like, I get why they want the illegals coming in and they want to fast track them to citizenship because they want voters. Why are you doing this? Like, they're no use to you. They're not going to vote. They're not likely to vote unless you're like picking them up in your big white van and carting them over there and pointing them and right.
Come on.
Come on. Look what we got for you. Come on. Just push this button.
Little shot of beer. Come on. Get in the van. Come on.
Want your beer. Yeah. So, yes, I mean, to me, that would be the only way they would be seeing any kind of benefit. But still, the numbers are not big enough for them to make a significant impact in the voting. I mean, maybe they are. I don't know. But from this, it kind of sounds like they're not necessarily. So I would love to know the what's their angle? What's their angle? Because otherwise it's just plain stupid. Now we could maybe add the layer of plain stupid plus evil, just evil.
Yeah,
So,
I can't see how anybody with any stroke of humanity looks at this and says this is a good idea.
right.
I don't. I get it. You see it in the old movies, the sympathetic, give the drunk the bottle,
Right,
here you go,
right.
old man,
Yeah.
but like that's old movies. Like we all know that's a horrible idea.
Yeah.
This is why you never give the guy on the side of the highway with the sign cat,
Mhm.
right? If you want to donate something to that individual, you give him a rain jacket, you give him a sandwich, you give him whatever. You don't give him money.
No.
None of those people, right? Because that's where
Right.
it goes. It goes to alcohol and it goes to drugs. Those are the two places it goes. And you just never give it to them. This is the same thing. Don't give them. You're cutting out the middleman. You're actually doing the work for them. Like you're bringing the booze to them. You might as well give them the money and let them, And oh, by the way, you're giving them a menu. Like, oh, you don't like beer? I got some vodka. No, how about some wine?
Can you imagine? Yeah.
Oh God, I just don't get it. This is just
I don't either.
It's left coast stupidity, at its pinnacle.
And of course, they are trying to use that logic, like, well, it's really bad for them just to go cold turkey when they're severe alcoholics because they get the shakes and, they could have a heart attack. I know all these kind of things could happen to them. So, like you said, that's not really treatment. You have to have a treatment plan for these people. You can't just keep throwing them nips from your paperboy bag and saying, "Oh, this will hold you over." This will hold you over. It's madness. It's stupidity and madness, and actually downright cruel. Really, is what it is. Offering zero help to these people who are desperately in need of help.
100%. Yep.
Very, very sad. Very sad. We're changing gears here.
A couple of topics tonight where we're talking about manipulating the system.
Yes.
And we've talked a couple of times about the southern border. I mean, it's a hot topic. Is it the number? I think it's the number 2, election topic besides the economy. I think is, the border's still number 2 and it revolves around national security, but everybody's focused on the southern border because it gets the most attention and the most traffic and it's on the news the most. But Border Patrol Services has broken a record for the most encounters on our northern border.
Well, okay, so we'll do a little bit of comparison. So the southern border has had roughly 6 million encounters since Biden assumed office. So that's the latest data on that. And maybe I'm wrong. I thought I had like the exact number here, but maybe I don't. But the numbers over on the northern border are not that high, but they are significantly higher. They have their highest. They have a record-breaking wave of illegal immigrants arrested in 1 month. So in 1 month, they had more arrests than they've had in like the past 3 years, I think. And that is incredibly telling. So more migrants last month than in the 2 previous years combined. So the 2 previous years combined in 1 month, So that is, hey guys, that's concerning. That's definitely concerning. And just so we know, this, so the northern border, let's see, it's the Swanton sector. It spans across New Hampshire, Vermont, and the eastern counties of New York State. So if you're in my neck of the woods, that's, that's your neighbors. That's right around the corner, basically.
So the question is, I mean, obviously the current administration plays a massive role in this. There's nobody argues that point. We know that the president and this administration continues to enjoy the open borders as much as they, make claims otherwise. But there's always somebody on the other side of this. And I don't know if you saw this. So the newly elected, I think, president of Panama, right, has outright said they are cutting off all traffic moving north.
Wow.
So he's tired of this. I think he's trying to make a better relationship and better alliance with the United States, truthfully. And I think he probably can read some tea leaves and knows there's going to be an administrative change here coming up. So he is cutting off. There's a corridor, and I don't remember the name of it, but there's a corridor through Panama, obviously across the canal and that. But he has said they are doing immediate deportations. If they find people moving through this corridor, non-Panamanians, illegal immigrants moving through, they're putting them on a plane, they're sending them home. He's done with it. And so that will alleviate some pressure further down the pipeline, right, for us. But now we're looking north. So this rests, there's only one person. There's only one, there's one person responsible for all this stuff coming from Canada, and it's Justin Trudeau, who is as big of a communist as anybody on the planet. I mean, the guy is, you know, you can't even qualify him as a socialist. I mean, he is the worst. He's horrible. You know, I know most Canadians can't stand him. Horrible to individual rights. You know, the fact that they offer, and I don't know if you know this or not, this is so heartbreaking to me, but they offer euthanasia, euthanasia to veterans who are suffering. Instead of taking care of them, they offer them assisted suicide as an out. Not only offer it, recommend it in many cases.
Whoa. Wow.
It's disgusting. It is their version of the VA that is responsible for this. They actually passed it, and then they said, hey, we probably need to pause on that. But the fact is that the government itself is supporting this effort, which is sickening.
Absolute monsters.
Person that you've got in charge up there, and you know that he is helping whatever policies. I'm not saying the guy's like hosting immigrants in his house, but whatever policies he's putting in place, very much like our current administration, the policies he's putting in place are facilitating months like we just had. Yes. There's no way that this is an accident, right? You know,
absolutely not.
It's warm in Canada now. Go that way. You know, it's easier to get through. Go that way. You know, it's not as hot. You don't have to walk 4,000 miles through Mexico to get there. It's easier. Right. Go through Canada. And that's what's happened, is they're finding an inroad, you know, through Canada, and now they're coming in through our Northeast. And I'm sure it's not exclusive to the Northeast. I'm sure it's, you know, all across the northern border, in various pockets and places as it's, you know, easier to traverse. But there's a responsibility here. And this is international relations, same continent, you know, just like we have problems with Mexico. Right. We're going to have problems with Canada, and it's going to get worse.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, what we're seeing right now is if something isn't done basically immediately, that's only going to get worse. You don't have that kind of spike, and the next month it's going to be nice and quiet. Like, this is the beginning of a flood, essentially. It's bad. And, you know, the most infuriating thing, and we all know it, the most infuriating thing about this is that Biden could stop this in a minute. One executive order and it's done. And he refuses. And everybody knows that. And anyone who is pretending that they don't know that, or that they don't believe that, is either an idiot or they're lying, or they, you know, because they want this to happen because they think that's going to benefit, you know, their side.
With this, Border Patrol is stretched thin. We've talked about this multiple times. Like they're being misused in many cases to do processing administrative stuff instead of actually physically trying to contain the border, which they can't all do. There's not enough of them. The southern border is completely overwhelmed at this point, and now you've got to surge north. And there's no capability out there. None. There's no reserve. There's no extra guys laying around. There's no, you know, BPS that's sitting around doing nothing to move up there to help those that are already up there. Like there's no capability we can add to this that will reduce this. And even if we had it, you know, the administration is not going to do it. Like, that's not a thing. So I really feel sorry in all of this. And I've said this before, for the BPS folks, because they're doing everything they can, and truthfully more than they can. Right. You know, they're the heroes and the victims of this entire thing. And now the folks who are up north, they're about to catch hell for it too. And I feel so bad for those folks. And it's awful because now it's I hate to say it's a two-front war, but that's kind of what it's looking like.
Yeah. Yeah. And, if there's going to be any kind of good, quasi good to come of this, is that it may agitate enough people on this side, on the northern side, because now you're legit getting affected. People who were not getting personally affected by this are now about to, if not already, getting personally affected by this. So, maybe that's going to open some eyes over here, and
they don't have to bus them in from Texas anymore.
Right.
Go up organically from Canada.
No 3 a.m. flights dropping off, illegals. I refuse to call them anything other than illegals. Dropping off illegals in quiet towns all across the country in the dead of night.
They're just going to show up. Yeah.
They're just going to walk right over. And guess what, guys? They're going to walk right in your house. So I hope you're prepared for that, because
yep, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. And
they're not all bad people, but they're not. Some of them are bad.
Some of them are.
But some of them are bad. Yeah.
Exceptionally bad, as in if you are in any of those bordering areas, I will go so far as to say, ladies, if you are joggers, morning walkers, any of those things, I would second guess that idea, because you are no longer safe.
Nope.
Less safe than you ever were. Let's put it that way, because we're always not exactly safe, but whole next level here. And boy, oh boy, people are going to find out the hard way. And it sucks that is always the case, that for people to wake up and be, and get angry is only when they get personally affected. And I think we're going to see some of that now.
Well, we're starting to see it. And these transition topics, right? We're starting to see the reaction now in a place, right? In a place that is traditionally as blue gets.
Yes, absolutely.
The Garden State, right?
Mm-hmm.
New Jersey, which is again, it's Democrat. It's hard blue, has been for a long time. President Trump held a rally there over the weekend. I think the initial number I saw was 80,000 people, and I think it crested over 100. I think 100,000 people showed up at a rally in New Jersey.
In New Jersey. Jersey Shore. Right?
Listen, if you've never spent any time in New Jersey, and I think, you've spent your whole life up here in the Northeast, right? Mm-hmm. There's a good portion of New Jersey that's very rural. There's tons of hunters and hunting and all of that. So, but like a lot of states, there's a dense urban population that comprises a good portion of New Jersey. To get 100,000 people to come to a rally for President Trump is unbelievable in that state. Yes. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's huge. And I love that, they're, almost immediately, they're fighting over on social media. Oh, there's no way it was 100,000. It was more like this, everybody's arguing about the numbers. And then somebody said, it was somebody who would know, I think like somebody who had something to do with the arena or area that his speech was in, his rally was in. It was like, well, I know it holds like 40,000, but then there were all the people on the outside of that around it. So, it could be anywhere from 80 to 100,000. So it's trying to first say 40,000. Then they must've gotten pressed a little bit and said, well, explain that a little bit more. Aren't there places where they could go? And people were trying to like tear through it.
Did you see the drone aerial footage? I don't know if it was from a helo, from a helicopter, or from a drone or something. But the aerial footage, there were people everywhere. Like
everywhere. Yeah, and they want to downplay it, but you can't. The videos are out there. The pictures are out there. Like you can't. They're trying so hard to convince people that his numbers are not what we think they are, what we know they are.
Yeah, and it's a result, right, of what's going on in the trial. Which
absolutely,
by the way, a whole nother week of crazy. I mean, today was day 2 of the Michael Cohen testimony, which again is backfiring very much like the Stormy Daniels testimony did.
Yeah, they're still regretting that whole fiasco.
Yeah. This whole thing, and we've talked about it before, but it's to keep him out. They can't beat him at the ballot box, so they're going to beat him in the jury box. And that's really what it's about. It's about keeping him off the campaign trail, trying to smear his name, all of those things. And he's doing a master job of working around it.
Yes.
He's like, well, I can't really go anywhere because I got to be back in the courtroom on Monday. Well, let's run over to Jersey. Let's just hold a thing over there. All right. And they do, and they throw it together, and boom, it's there, and 100,000 people show up.
Yes.
Like, and this is the backlash from all the stuff that we're talking about. This is the backlash from the Israel Hamas, position that the administration's taking.
Right.
This is the backlash of the border. This is all of it. Every bit of this. It's not just the backlash of trying to keep him out of office or trying to, attack his character or any of the rest of that stuff. This is true, earnest backlash from people who are sick of the economy sucking, not being able to afford, a little bit extra in their lives, and worried about their safety and worried about their future and worried about their kids and all this other stuff. That's what this is. That's what happens. That you get 100,000 people to a rally because of stuff like that. Not because a porn star was on the stand talking bad about it. That's not what does this. It's everything else.
Yeah, it's, like you said, it's not one isolated thing. It is all of the things that culminate to a country, an almost entire country being sick and tired and done. And what has been happening is what we were kind of loosely just talking about, that now you've affected me. All of the things that this administration has been doing affects me personally. And now I'm involved. Now I'm invested. Now I got to get off my couch and now I got to do something. And I think that is a very large part of what's happening. People who sat quietly and just lived their life and didn't want to be bothered with any of this now realize, well, it's on my doorstep. Now it is my problem. And now I have to do something. And, what a shame, again, that it had to happen like this, that we had to go so far down in the darkest hole that you could possibly be in for people to, decide, oh, wait a minute, something's not right here. I think I better do something. But, I guess whatever it takes. And they're getting wilder and crazier with all of their stunts and all of the things that they're trying to do to keep this one man out of office, so it does make me anxious of how far they would go.
Yeah. And it's, there's surprisingly two things out of this last couple of days regarding, truthfully, the administration and the current election that surprised me is that in the wake of this, it did surprise me a little bit that you heard not a peep. It doesn't surprise me a lot, but it surprises me a little bit that you haven't heard a peep out of Chris Christie.
Very
Zero,
strange.
right?
Yeah. Yes.
Donald Duck himself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The nickname that
he's really basically he's in his Donald's in his house. Yeah.
It's
he's in his house. Right.
Yes. And not a word. And I would be very interested in which of the news outlets, if any, even reached out to him and what his response was. Like I would love to hear just one. I don't care who it is, CNN, whoever, say, and we reached out to Chris Christie for comment and received no reply, because that's essentially what you're going to get.
Yes,
what did he say? Yeah, it surprised me a little bit, but also Secretary Clinton, Hillary Clinton, took a little bit of a beating this week because she lashed out a little bit at the Hamas Israel. The protesters, the student protesters. And she basically said these kids don't know the history of the Middle East and they don't know what they're talking about. And the backlash was not from them. It was from the party. It was from
they want her to shut up and don't say things like that, right?
Up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's, they're the Clintons. And I think there's been a power shift in the party. I think, now it's public. I think there was one going on for a while, but I think the reins and control of not just the current administration, but really of the DNC itself. I think, former President Obama's he's got it all. Like it's all in his pocket. And because nobody ever told the Clintons to shut up before now.
No, they wouldn't dare.
Ever.
They wouldn't dare. Right.
Yeah. If you told the Clintons to shut up, you ended up like, Jeffrey Epstein. Right. And then it's not, nobody wants that.
No.
But that's what happened. Like she got slapped down. The party basically told her to keep her mouth shut. That's not in line with what everybody else is saying, and keep it to yourself. And that was a little bit of a shock. Not that it was a little bit of a shock that she said it in the first place, because that's not a, it's an honest position, which again, the Clintons
she actually just got caught in a moment of honesty, really.
Yeah, and again, not something the Clintons are known for, is honesty.
No.
But she said it, and then the immediate reaction of, basically, go back in your hole. We're done with you. Your time is over with. Keep your mouth shut. Stay on the party line or stay out of the way. So there's been a power shift, and that's a pretty good indicator. I think we all knew that, but I think that the shift is, really to President Obama. I think he, will handle it very differently from the Clintons. He'll stay very much, aloof and in the shadows and very quiet and those kinds of things. But he'll keep pulling the strings. We all know that's what's been happening in the last 4 years. So
absolutely,
it is what it is. But the goal is for them to continue to maintain power. And again, we're moving on to the next topic. That's what we've got going on with the census. So now the effort is to make this stuff official, and it's not just in the short term, but in the long term. So with the census, now they're trying to collect data and include every resident, legal or illegal.
Doesn't matter which one you are, right? Yeah.
Right. To provide for accurate representation. So in the short term, it's the Electoral College. Now, I don't think that we will see, short-term Electoral College change. We will potentially see it in the long term, but we will also see, so 4 years from now, really, because it's going to take a year to collect. It's going to take a year to, publish and then make adjustments. So by the next presidential election cycle, if things go according to what the current administration wants, you'll see a shift in the Electoral College. You'll see more electoral votes allocated to specific states. But what you will also see is more representation. The House of Representatives will grow. More representatives for states like California and New York. And you'll see it in places that didn't have a lot of representation. Minnesota, right? There's been a big push there. Illinois will get more. Right. And while we all thought, and I was the biggest proponent for Texas shoving all of these illegals, everywhere, all over the country, may not have been the best, right?
In light of this, right? Yes.
Right. A little bit of backfire, but it also, it kind of helps keep Texas red.
Yes.
Yes. So there's that. But this is not by accident. This is well thought out. And this is the end game, right? The end game is to flood states, already blue states, with more blue voters to replace the ones that are leaving. And truthfully, I hate to say it, the baby boomers that are now starting to, they're getting up there a little bit.
Just a fact. Right? Just a fact.
Natural progression of things. Right. So you've got to replace them. You got to replace the reformed hippies that are no longer hippies and have moved to places like Florida and Texas and, places like that. And they're now voting red. But, you're going to grow the states that are hard blue anyway. Illinois, New York, California, places like that. You're going to get more electoral votes and you're going to get more representatives in the House. So that's what this is about. That's how this census, this 2024 census is going to be used to manipulate our election, our electoral system, our future elections. And if that's not election interference, like, you don't have to look to Russia or make up dossiers or any of this other
right here
that happened 4 years ago. They're just doing it here. They're just administratively changing the rules to manipulate the election. That's what all of this is about.
Yeah. So I read it. Of course, I saved it. So Representative Jamie Raskin, he's a Democrat from Maryland. Yeah. Quoted the 14th Amendment part of it, the part that benefited his point. And he's the quote was, representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state. And he emphasized persons in each state. So he's, trying to make it like, they're not referring to citizens versus non-citizens. They're just persons, but he kind of left out the whole first section of it, which is all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state where they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which will abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So they just try and find like all these little loopholes holes and ways around. And of course they want the Constitution, they want it amended, of course, to change that. So
yeah, they learned from the original framers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And really the Southern states and the slave owners, right? There was a reason, there's multiple reasons why, slaves were counted as, 3/5, right?
Mm-hmm.
One, it kept slaves in a box, but also it gave them additional not citizens, but numbers in their census.
Right.
So, this is the same kind of thing. Like they're just looking back in time and they're looking at this and they're going, "Hey, wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
that was okay. That we could use that," and that's what they're doing. They're just rewriting it, now, in modern times to make it do the same thing that they wanted it to do before, which was give them actual better numbers with, that they can manipulate and use to their own advantage to keep things the way they want it. And that's what it's.
Yeah. That's been their game all along. And there's been plenty of people who've said it right from the beginning. And I think including us that we've said, why else would they be so okay with all of these illegals crossing, flooding into our country? And it's the same question that we go back to when we were talking about San Francisco. Well, they don't do things out of the goodness of their heart and their humanitarian, aid. They do it for their own personal motives. So what would be, what would benefit them? Oh, well, here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are. Right.
Yeah. Self-serving to the nth degree. That's all it is about, maintaining control, maintaining power. And they're rewriting the rule book to do it. They're like, they're like the oldest sibling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just change the rules to make sure you continue to win, keep your younger siblings in line.
Yep. Keep moving the goalpost, keep changing the rules, cheat, lie, steal, doesn't matter. Do all of the things as long as you win. And that's the game that they're playing. It's the game that they've always played. It has always been the game. And, we're just privy to it now. And they're not even hiding it anymore. They don't care. They don't care. They just throw it right in your face. Like, here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Suck it.
Well, they figured out a while ago that they can't hide it anymore. So why hide it? Now they count on the media to provide whatever, reinforce the narrative. And they don't deny it. They just wait for the news cycle to change, and they know Americans are going to forget about it, and they take advantage of it. And that's what's going on. They're not hiding jack anymore. It's not even worth it.
No.
So just manipulate it and just move on.
Right. Yeah. They certainly have enough little minions sitting there, consuming all of their BS and, taking sound bites and passing them off as truths. And it's bananas.
Yeah. It is. It's crazy.
I summed it all up so eloquently.
Bananas.
It's bananas.
And there it is. Oh. There is the word for the week, ladies and gentlemen. It's bananas.
It's bananas. When you're at a loss for what to say, when you're in such shock and dismay over the state of everything, and you try, if you're a person who's trying not to be a swearer anymore, which is really difficult because I had a mouth like a truck driver, still do sometimes. Working on it, guys. You start saying things like, "That's bananas." Oh boy! It doesn't quite give the same satisfaction.
No, it really doesn't. Yeah.
It doesn't, but that's okay. Oh, I love it. Well, listen, guys, we hope that you had at least a little bit of a chuckle with us here and there. We definitely had some amusement with a couple of those topics or aspects of those topics, at least. And we hope you did too. We always thank you for joining us, for chiming in the comments. And we just love it so much when you guys do that. And the routine, Clay, you take them out.
Hey, folks, thanks for joining us again. Another great week, another great set of topics, and always fun to hang out and shoot the breeze with Elsa. And we appreciate you guys tuning in week after week. And as always, for me, keep moving, keep shooting.
I love it. Take care, guys. See you next week.